At my own graduation party, my dad grabbed the microphone and said, "Let's be honest, she barely earned that diploma." Laughter broke out, but my knees were shaking. When I confronted him, he just shrugged and said, "Don't be so sensitive. You know you're not that smart anyway." I left in tears. Weeks later, I got a job offer across the country. When I told him I was moving, he just said, "Take the trash with you." I haven't spoken to him since. Last week, he showed up at my new job in tears. I haven't told this story to anyone fully. Some of my friends know pieces, but not everything. I didn't have the words before. I was too angry. Maybe I still am. I grew up in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. Not a bad town, not a big one either. But when your house feels like hell, it doesn't matter where it sits on the map. My dad, Daryl, wasn't a good man. People in town liked him. He'd laugh loud, slap backs, buy a round of drinks. But behind closed doors, he was cold. Not cruel in the obvious ways. He didn't beat me, but he chipped away at me day by day, year by year. And no one saw it. He called me stupid so many times, it stopped sounding like an insult. It was just a fact, like the sky was blue. If I brought home a B, he'd ask what I did wrong. If I brought home an A, he'd say the teacher must have been lazy. "You're not made for books," he'd mutter, shaking his head. Some kids got it. You don't. He was a construction guy. Did roofing, concrete, manual stuff. Always had grease under his nails. When I was little, I wanted to be around him. I'd follow him in the yard, hand him tools, ask about what he was fixing. He didn't like questions, especially from me. When my mom was alive, she tried to soften things. She'd defend me sometimes, tell him I was trying my best. He'd ignore her or go out for a smoke until she stopped talking. Then she got sick. Breast cancer. It moved fast. I was 12. She was gone in 8 months. He got worse after that. No more dinners. Just microwaved crap. No rides to school. I walked or figured it out. He stopped saying goodnight. If I cried, he turned the TV louder. By high school, I didn't speak unless I had to. I worked at a diner after school, saved every tip. I studied late into the night because I had to pass. I couldn't live under his roof forever. He never once asked what I wanted to do with my life. Never helped with college forms. Didn't even know I applied anywhere. I didn't get in anywhere fancy. Just a local community college, but it was something. I pushed through. Took extra classes. Finished with a 2-year degree in marketing. So when graduation day came around, it meant something to me. I'd made it. I survived him. I wanted to move out, start fresh, live without hearing that voice telling me I was nothing. I didn't even plan to celebrate, but my Aunt Jean, my mom's sister, insisted. She said we'd do a cookout. Just family and a few neighbors. She'd bring the food. I didn't even invite friends. I kept it quiet. The day was hot. June sun, sweat on my back before noon. People brought lawn chairs, coolers, music. Daryl wore his usual, faded jeans, a stained tee, and his filthy John Deere cap. He brought a case of Busch Light and parked himself by the grill like it was his domain. At one point, Aunt Jean made everyone quiet down. She said a few nice things, called me a survivor, said my mom would have been proud. Then she offered the mic to my dad. I swear I felt my stomach drop. I didn't want him to speak, but I couldn't say no without causing a scene. So I just stood there, holding my plate of overcooked bratwurst, and listened. He took the mic, cleared his throat, and said, "Well, let's be honest here. She barely earned that diploma." I froze. My brain didn't register it at first. Then I heard the chuckles. Light at first, then louder. My cousin Mark let out a big laugh and clapped him on the back. Dad kept going. Hell, we all remember algebra. Thought we'd have to bribe the teacher just to get her to pass. That got real laughter. Even Aunt Jean gave a nervous smile. I looked around and felt dizzy. My heart was racing. It felt like I was 5 again, dropping a glass and watching him shake his head in disgust. I didn't say a word. I walked into the house, locked myself in the bathroom, and cried until my throat hurt. I left that night without a goodbye. Drove to my friend Kelsey's apartment and crashed on her couch. The next morning, I went home. He was in the kitchen, coffee in one hand, phone in the other. I walked up to him and said, "Why would you say that? Why humiliate me like that?" He didn't even flinch. Didn't look up. "Don't be so sensitive," he muttered. "You know you're not that smart anyway." That broke something in me. I didn't cry. I didn't yell. I just walked back to my room, closed the door, and started packing. A few weeks later, I got a job offer. A small marketing firm in Portland, Oregon. It wasn't a dream job, but it was enough to start over. I packed my stuff, put what I couldn't carry into a storage unit, and told him I was leaving. He was sitting on the porch, smoke curling from his cigarette, legs up on the railing. "You serious?" he asked. "Yeah, I'm leaving. I got a job." He looked at me like I was a roach crawling across the floor. "Well then," he said, flicking ash. "Take the trash with you." I left that day and never looked back. 3 years. No calls. No texts. No birthdays, no holidays. Nothing. I rebuilt myself. Got therapy. Got promoted. Got my own little apartment near the river. Then, last Tuesday around 10 a.m., I was in the office, editing a campaign draft, when the receptionist knocked on my door. "There's someone here to see you," she said, confused. "He says he's your dad." I felt ice in my spine. I stood up slowly, walked to the front, and there he was. Daryl. He looked thinner. Older. Like someone deflated him. His eyes were red, and his face looked almost scared. He saw me and said, "I need your help." I didn't say a word. I just stood there and waited. I didn't move. I didn't ask him to sit. I just stood there, arms crossed, in the middle of the front lobby. The receptionist quietly stepped away, sensing the tension. "I need your help," he said again. His voice cracked this time. "Why are you here?" I asked. He looked around like he didn't know how to answer. Then he said, "It's about the house." I'm losing it. I messed up. Bad. I felt my stomach twist, but I didn't let it show. He kept going. Like once he started, he couldn't stop. "I took out loans after you left. Medical bills, some work dried up, and then, well, it just spiraled. I didn't ask anyone for help. I thought I could fix it. But now they're saying foreclosure. I got 30 days. I was quiet for a long time. Why come to me? I finally asked. He looked right at me, eyes red and puffy. Because I don't got anyone else. Jean's gone. Cancer. Last year. My heart dropped. Aunt Jean was the only person who'd ever stood up for me. I didn't know, I said quietly. "No one told you," he said, voice hard. "That's what happens when you cut your whole family off." I almost laughed. "You think I cut you off? After everything you said to me? Everything you did to me?" He put his hands up like he wanted to calm me down. "I made mistakes, okay? I wasn't a good dad. But I'm trying now." "No," I snapped. "You're not trying. You're desperate." He didn't deny it. He just looked down at his boots, same worn ones he always wore, like the floor might give him some mercy. "Just a loan," he whispered. "I'll pay it back. I swear." "You called me trash," I said, my voice shaking now. "You mocked me in front of the whole family. You told me I'd never be anything." "And I was wrong," he said, louder now. "You're something. Look at you. You made it." That made my blood boil. "You don't get to take credit for that." He looked like I'd slapped him. "I'm not asking for credit," he said. "I'm asking for a second chance." I stood there, breathing hard. Behind me, I could feel eyes watching. People pretending not to listen. I turned to him and said, flatly, "You don't deserve one." I walked back into my office and closed the door. I sat there for a long time. I didn't cry. I didn't feel relief. Just Pressure, like something was pressing against my chest. He left without another word. But that wasn't the end of it. 2 days later, I got a call from a lawyer. My dad listed me as his emergency contact. He'd been taken to the hospital. Something with his liver. Years of drinking catching up. Now he was dying, and I had to decide if I wanted to see him again before it was too late. The hospital smelled like bleach and sadness. It took everything in me not to turn around and leave the second I walked through those sliding glass doors. But I went anyway. Not for him. For closure. Or maybe to see if he was finally the weak one. They had him in the ICU. Room 213. When I stepped in, I barely recognized him. He looked smaller. Like life had drained out of his skin. The rough, mean man I remembered was gone. What lay in that bed was something sunken and frail. His eyes fluttered open when I moved closer. "Told you," he croaked. "This world chews you up." I said nothing, just stared. A nurse walked in a minute later. "He's not supposed to have visitors for more than a few minutes. Doctor's orders." I nodded, but he raised a hand. "It's okay. She's my daughter." The nurse looked surprised. She glanced at me like she couldn't picture it. He turned to me when we were alone again. "There's something I didn't tell you." I didn't care. Not really. But I waited. "I didn't just come for money," he said, barely above a whisper. "There's something at the house. Something I need you to get rid of before they seize it." I froze. "What are you talking about?" "It's in the shed. Back corner. Locked box. You'll know it when you see it." "That's not an answer," I snapped. He looked at me with something that might have been regret. Or fear. "I did things. Bad things. For money. After you left, it got dark. I thought I was protecting you by pushing you away. Turns out, I was just making myself easier to forget." "What kind of things?" He coughed hard. Real pain this time. His whole body shook. "You'll see," he whispered. "Just be careful." I left without saying goodbye. 3 days later, I flew back to Iowa. First time in years. The house looked worse than I remembered. Roof sagging. Lawn overgrown. Windows taped. But the shed was still locked. I used the crowbar I found in the garage. Rusted the lock right off. Inside was a metal box. Heavy. Bolted down to the floor. I pried it loose and opened it. What I found inside changed everything. Stacks of cash. At least 50 grand. And a folder. Inside the folder, photos. Names. Bank records. My dad's name signed under a dozen forged documents. It was an insurance scam. Fake disability claims. Stolen identities. And more. There were even papers with my name. My social, as a cosigner on 2 of the fraud accounts. From years ago. That's when I realized. He didn't just screw up his own life. He had dragged mine into it, too. At first, I couldn't move. Just sat there in the shed, knees in the dirt, holding papers with my name on them, filed next to stolen checks and identity forms. I checked the dates. Some went back 4 years. He'd used me as part of his scam before I even left town. Probably figured I'd never find out. Probably didn't care if I did. The cash was dirty money. Blood money. Fraud. Insurance theft. Maybe worse. Part of me wanted to take it and burn the whole shed down. Another part of me thought, it's mine now. Like it was owed to me. Like the years of verbal beatdowns, the isolation, the mockery, like this box was some kind of twisted inheritance. But I didn't do either of those things. I took pictures of everything. The cash, the documents, his forged signature next to mine. Then I packed it all up into my car and drove straight to a lawyer's office in town. One who handled criminal and financial law. I didn't say I was turning him in yet. I said I had questions. I needed to know what I was looking at. 2 days later, I had my answers. Yes, he had committed multiple felonies. Yes, I was technically listed on the documents, but because I was a minor at the time and never signed anything knowingly, I could clear my name if I cooperated. So I did. I filed an official statement with the state. Turned over everything, even the cash. The bank records led them to more of his schemes. Old buddies of his still in town were pulled into the investigation. Turns out, he'd been part of a local fraud ring. It was bigger than I thought. They used injured workers' identities, padded insurance claims, even set up fake disability accounts using social security numbers of people who died. And yeah, it made headlines. Cedar Rapids man at center of statewide insurance fraud ring. His name was in bold. Mine? Cleared. Quietly. Legally removed from any ties to the operation. The lawyer made sure of it. I paid him with my savings. Every last dollar. Worth it. But that wasn't the end. Because the day after the article came out, I got a call from the hospital. My dad was gone. Liver failure. Complications. He died in the night. No note. No apology. Just gone. They asked me what I wanted to do with the body. I said he wanted to be left alone. Let's respect that. He was cremated. No service. No grave. No ashes shipped. I didn't fly back to Iowa for the final papers. I signed everything electronically. I signed away the house, the land, the debt, the mess. All of it. I never went back. 6 months later, my career in Portland took off. I moved into a better apartment. I got promoted. I started sleeping better. But sometimes, late at night, I still hear his voice. Take the trash with you. Except now I know something he never understood. Trash can be taken out. And some things some people don't deserve to be recycled.